Hello and welcome to the video wrap for the final day of the 2017 SMSF Association National Conference here in Melbourne. It's brought to you by Self-Managed Super Magazine and BrickX, the online fractional property investment business. I'm Darren Tyson-Chan, editor of Self-Managed Super, and day 3 kicked off with the panel session to discuss superannuation policy. Panellist Bernie Ripoll, MD of Fresh Advisory, admitted there was a trust gap with the way people behave, but refuted a common held theory about the consequences of constant system changes.
Yes, we complain about changes, rightfully so in a lot of areas because that creates uncertainty. But I don't think we lose trust in the system, and are certainly not borne out by any data or any figures that say, here's the evidence of trust by people walking away and doing something different. In fact, I think it's actually the opposite.
University of Melbourne Professor of Finance Kevin Davis shared his scepticism of the value of enshrining the objective of superannuation in law.
If we ever get to a simple objective, perhaps, I think there's too much debate over what that objective should be. I think it needs to be kept very simple, and I think actually we need to think of superannuation always in the context of it's part of overall retirement policy, and therefore we maybe need to be thinking about what's the appropriate statement of objectives for retirement incomes policy.
SMSF Association Head of Policy Jordan George then gave Canberra a clear message about including adequacy in determining the purpose of super.
We also would remind the Parliament that it's actually their job to make judgment about the system. Now, the idea about adequacy is something that's too hard to define or means different things to different people. That's why we elect politicians, to make those decisions. So I think the idea that just because there's no single agreement of what adequacy means shouldn't mean we should have some concept of it in the objectives of super.
The Minister for Revenue and Financial Services, Kelly O'Dwyer, was next and addressed the conference to share the direction she would like to see the SMSF sector take.
As the Superannuation Minister in a coalition government, I would like to be similarly pleasantly surprised by the ability of self-managed super funds to continue to grow, because we very much believe in the core values of individual choice and self-determination.
In one of the first breakout sessions for the day, ASX Head of Customer and Business Development Ian Irvine pointed out the exchange was increasing investment avenues to promote diversification, using global markets as an example.
Global, we've been talking about the small size of the Australian market in the global equity context for many, many years, and it probably was around about after the GFC and ETFs took us overseas in a very easy, transparent way to get there. Because there's $80 trillion outside of the $1.7 trillion that sits here in Australia available for investors to contemplate investing. But they need help, either advice or to go with a professional manager that knows what the stocks that they're looking for.
In a subsequent session, ATO Assistant Commissioner Casey McFarlane shared the regulator's top 10 compliance issues, with problems regarding the separation of assets a surprising listed item.
Once again, it is 12% of the total contraventions reported to us and 25% of the total value of contraventions reported to us. So wow. It is actually something that SMSF auditors are reporting to us. And I know that you and I, Belinda, had a chat about that, and you had some thoughts about perhaps in some cases there might be some misreporting or misunderstanding by auditors there. So I think it would be good if you can comment on that in a second. I just wanted to quickly comment as well, just sort of reiterate how important it is that assets are appropriately recorded in the fund's name, because it is actually about protecting the fund's assets, and we do see some very unfortunate cases where assets aren't appropriately recorded in the fund's name. They become subject to action by creditors or costly legal action trying to prove ownership, and it just creates a really messy situation for everyone. So it is in the best interests of trustees to make sure that they are recorded in the fund's name. So if there are funds out there where that isn't the case, then they should take action to rectify that.
So that brings the SMSF Association National Conference to an end for another year. We hope to see most of you again next year when the event is held at the new Sydney Convention Centre. I'm Darren Tyson-Chan.